expect you today. But you know what? I'm glad you joined me because as my NAWL presidency comes to an end, I'm in the process of reviewing all of the incredible work accomplished by all of you, the members of NAWL. You may recall that at the annual meeting last year in 2017, I asked you to commit yourself to NAWL by holding up a piece of purple paper. And then I asked you to write down on that piece of paper what you would do to commit to engage with NAWL this year. In addition to the symbolic efforts that you made in holding up the pieces of paper, when the NAWL staff and I followed up with you after the annual meeting, you made good on your promises. Many of you, like Jennifer, committed to joining or renewing your memberships with NAWL. And because so many others did the same thing, our membership numbers increased in the last year by nearly 1,500. So many of you, like Amita and Heidi, said that they would become active in a NAWL affinity group. In our 15 NAWL affinity groups, you hosted 12 webinars, and you also hosted 9 in-person panels or networking events. And the NAWL Book Club hosted 8 teleconferences featuring female authors. That's more than double what NAWL has done in the previous years. Tamala, Connie, and our Diversity and Inclusion Committee put on 2 webinars this year. Those were the first ever hosted by that committee. So much purple. You know, it may be a coincidence. I'm sitting here today in my office at Larson King in St. Paul, Minnesota. And it reminds me that the first ever NAWL annual meeting took place in Minnesota. There's a couple other prominent connections between the state of Minnesota and purple. There's that purple football team. I don't want to hear anything out of the Eagles fans in the audience. There's also the prominent singer that has a connection to purple. I don't want to infringe on any copyright, but you might know who it is by the color of the rain that he sings about. Back to these purple sheets. Many of you, like Paula, wanted to attend and work on our programs, and so many of you did. We had a terrific event in Boston, which was our Meeting the Challenge. We had another successful General Counsel Institute in New York in November. I always enjoy traveling to NAWL events. Sure, it can be a challenge taking time away from your family and from work, but I also made a commitment last year when I took over as the NAWL president. And if that meant that I needed to travel from Minnesota in February to go to a meeting in South Beach, well, I am just that committed. Like Julia, some of you committed to work on our program in Dallas, Texas. And I know it's a cliche to say that everything's bigger in Texas, but in this instance, it was true. Our Dallas event in the spring was our first ever sold out NAWL event. Because of your involvement with NAWL, more of your organizations and law firms provided financial support for NAWL. This increased both the number of sponsors and the amount of sponsorship for NAWL. The 3L mentoring program is designed to help women of color make the transition from law student to lawyer with the help of a seasoned lawyer like Ritu, who last year at the annual meeting committed to help mentor diverse women in the profession. Through the great work and commitment of NAWL's Amicus Committee, NAWL signed on to 6 amicus briefs relating to legal issues that impact women. Last year when you were making your commitments, I also made some commitments. One of those was to provide more leadership opportunities outside of board service. So many of you accepted that invitation to showcase your leadership talents, and great things were accomplished. I also committed to building relationships with other leaders of diverse bar associations. On behalf of the NAWL board, I thank you for all of your time and talent. I also want to thank the NAWL board who gave me the privilege to serve in this role for the past year. NAWL hosted a record number of 41 programs in the last year, and none of that could have been accomplished without the wonderful talent of the NAWL staff. You may be thinking, great, lots of activities, but what does that actually do to advance women in the law? Well, I'm glad you asked. There's research that shows that women's networking events actually do move the needle. The reason for this is that women leave these kinds of events feeling more connected. And research has shown that the greatest predictor of success and happiness is social connection. What NAWL is doing with its work is providing immediate opportunities for women to connect, which in turn helps them in their own individual work settings. As a girl from a tiny farming community in South Dakota, I didn't fully appreciate that my decision to go to law school would provide unique challenges simply because I'm a woman. I had spent years growing up with one sister and 5 brothers, making things happen just by sheer determination and at times, big hair. But this was different. I was lucky enough to have a number of very supportive male mentors, but something was still missing until I found NAWL. NAWL provided me connections that led to confidence, energy to succeed at my law firm, and even new business for my law firm. NAWL also provided opportunities to learn and develop leadership skills, and NAWL provided me the opportunity to play a small role in making the profession better for women. I am so grateful for all of the opportunities I have had through my involvement with NAWL. Even more meaningful are all the connections that I have made with so many of you. As my presidency comes to an end, I will make another